Thank you for joining me again on this little series that I started um, about Cheslie Kryst and the whole situation surrounding that. It's been a while since my last video, and those who have watched it and commented, thank you so much for just not only watching it, but also continuing the conversation in the comments. I was really um, thankful and grateful that you guys watched the video and took something away from what I was trying to say and really came with an open mind and didn't get any disrespect in the comments. So that is a win for me. But now I'm sure you guys are just now watching the Red Table Talk interview that Cheslie's mom just did. And for me, it was yesterday. I don't know when I'm gonna put this video out, but I just watched it yesterday, and um, to say the least, like I needed an outlet again to um just express like what I'm feeling because after watching that, I went to square one with how I felt about the whole situation. And um And it's crazy because you would think that Chesley was like one of my family members. Like I talked to her like once or twice, but like it it's just crazy how you could have so much emotion for a person that you didn't necessarily meet in person. But I think that's just a part of being human, right? Um, I feel like be I wouldn't be honest if I didn't like reflect on the feelings, the complex feelings that I'm having for this situation. And I care about people, like, sue me. Like, I really do care about people. And when stuff like this happens, it definitely it feels so heavy. And I'm grateful that I have this platform to talk about this and get it out and release it, right? And have like a community of people that actually feel the same way because I can't be alone. If you're watching this, I'm sure that you felt the heaviness of this situation, right? I can't be the only one. So, this video is going to be my reaction because I watched it last night and God, I'm just telling you right now, I'm a big believer in God and I have a strong faith in God. Um, I felt like God was trying to deter me away from watching the video, the Red Table Talk episode, because it was late at night. I watched it at like 1 a.m. and I just kept getting error after error, technical difficulties out of nowhere with just Red Table Talk. Like no other um, videos had problems but Red Table Talk, and specifically Cheslie's video with her mom. You know what I mean? And I literally had to watch it from a very little screen on my TV. um, Basically, the preview screen to watch it. So I haven't even seen it on a full screen. But I was just like, I was determined to watch it because I needed to stop getting notifications from people trying to tell me what happened and what transpired based on her mom's um, recollection of what actually happened. And I was like, I'm tired of just getting messages. So I need to watch this and just release. So this is what that video is about. I'm going to address my last video and some of the things that I said in the last video that were not true um, based on the answer questions that we got from her mother and basically my reaction to the Red Table Talk. And yeah, so let's just get into it because, yeah, let's just get into it. This is a safe space. I want to say that. And I just want to say that this is me and my raw emotions about what happened to Chesley, my emotions and feelings about it happening, um, and just reflecting on her life in a just an honest and transparent way, and where I'm at with it, what happened right now, because I care about the situation. I'm not going to hide that. Some people may think it's weird, but I really do care about people, especially people that inspired me, especially people that I interacted with. So yeah, enough disclaimers, okay? You take it or leave it. What happens here? Okay, so first, um, addressing my last video. So my last couple videos about this case was basically me addressing some of the misconceptions that were going around about Cheslie, and some of the things I was seeing people say about her, and saying things that she can't defend herself on. Um, Also, I addressed scenarios based on what people were saying, the scenarios of her actually completing suicide, or the scenario of foul play being involved. Just because we didn't have any answers really surrounding the case, and people were confused, such as I was confused about how she could have took her own life based on the knowledge and information that we had. And obviously that wasn't correct, and I acknowledged that. And um, in my last video, I even acknowledged that it's not logical that she would have had foul play or been murdered or anything like that. And that I did believe before Miss April's video of her table talk came out that she did jump. I just didn't understand why. And that was my only question. So, yeah. Um, but yeah, I just wanted to acknowledge that the scenario of foul play was absolutely wrong because her mother mentioned that she got a text message from Cheslie before she committed suicide. Um, and it was detailing like her her feelings and her thought process behind ending her life. And her mother got this message, plus the message that was found on her computer about leaving her stuff to her mother, which was confirmed to be from Cheslie. The text message was from Cheslie, obviously, because it had personal information. It had things that just people wouldn't have known about her um, to her mother. So obviously, no foul play was involved. Um, so I'll put that to rest, and I hope you do too if you were one of those people that just didn't understand how she could take her life. So, um, what is the next thing I want to talk about? So let's just get into my Red Table Talk reaction. Okay, so where do I begin? Where do I begin? So right away, I just felt it was heavy. It was painful to watch. It was one of the most painful things I've ever watched in my life. Um, because it just confirmed, like, you want to believe, okay, she couldn't have taken her life. She couldn't have felt so distraught that she would take her life. Just wanted to end it all. It's just a part of me that wanted that to be false, right? Um, because she had so much to live for in our eyes. She had so much talent in so many areas that she could have, um, that she really could have utilized. She could have experienced so much in her life that she is now not going to have the opportunity to experience, right? And then I just after watching the Red Table Talk, actually, let's just get into it. When she pulled out the text message, I had to pause. Well, I couldn't even pause it because if I paused it, the technical difficulties would have started the whole video over. But I just kind of blacked out in my mind because I'm like, oh my gosh, she's about to read her last text message from her daughter. That was also her best friend. And in that moment, I just felt so much pain for her mother. And understanding that Cheslie wrote this message, and it was a long message that her mother said that she had to continue and continue to scroll. And just knowing that she sat there and typed the whole message out And it shows that she planned this very moment. And it was just painful to hear her mother read that. It was so painful. And that's literally the only word that I could describe how that moment was. Um, I had no words. All I could feel was heaviness. And it brought me back to when she first had passed in January. That feeling of just, wow. I couldn't imagine the pain that she was feeling. And I'm sorry for just stopping. Um, but that's how I feel in this moment. It just felt like you wish somebody could have stopped her. Somebody could have just been there to tell her, you can get past this. You have so much to live for, right? And just hearing her mother read those last words of her feeling loneliness, a loneliness that made her feel like she didn't have anything to live for anymore. Just the loneliness that made her feel incomplete and empty. And I just went back to after the Red Table Talk, and I appreciate Jada giving her mother that platform to just express her grief, to continue talking about Cheslie, to keep her memory alive, and to help so many people that are dealing with grief in multiple forms. Um, was just an amazing platform for that. So I give Jada so much kudos. What she said also to them about not holding on to grief in the moment. It sounds harsh probably to people that are just now grieving, but it's some truth to that. Like holding on to that grief is not what the person that passed away wants people to do that they loved. They want them to just carry on their lives and be happy. That's most likely what Chesley would want her mother to do, is to keep living and to experience life in a happy state, find complete happiness, because that's not what she experienced in this life. Um, so I appreciated what Jada said in that, and I hope that people that are dealing with grief right now just felt understood and seen in that moment. And her mother has so much courage and strength to even talk about this whole situation in public. And her stepfather as well. When he told that story about being in New York and hearing that Adele song, I literally was in tears the whole time I was watching it. And I think I probably was like this. I had my hand on my chest like the whole video, because it was just, my God, it was just painful to watch. And I'm sure whoever's watching this right now is agreeing with me. It was just like, you felt heavy after watching it. And so after the video, I just had time to reflect and just started reflecting on my own life. And like I said before, I've felt the way Chesley has felt before. Probably not to that magnitude, but I've felt loneliness and emptiness, um, but continue to press on every day. Um, I started to reflect on that in the times where I could have given up. And her mother talked about the voices that Chesley would deal with, that would tell her to just um, to end her life, and the negativity that was um, in those voices that would tell her that she's not enough or things like that. I think we all deal with that, right? So it was just unfortunate that the enemy the enemy got to her and she couldn't hear God's voice loud enough, because I know she was a woman of faith. Since doing my last videos, I've heard her on numerous podcasts talk about that she trusts God with her life. She trusts God's plan for her life, and whatever He wants for her life, she's there to do it. She might not understand it, but she said she was willing to see it through. And to just see where we are today, it's just, I'm sorry, it's just, at a loss for words, because it's crazy how 3 years could change a person's mindset on their lives and their worth. And I liked with what Miss April said, her mother, Cheslie's mother said about not judging Chesley in that moment of not moment of weakness, but that moment of herself being in that state of mind, in that depression, um, deep into it. You can't judge a person on their lowest moment in their lives. Like, so that's what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to say and be mad at Chesley for what she did. It's just, I wish that she just knew, that she could have known how loved she was by so many people. I wish she would have known how cherished she was by people, how much of an inspiration she was to so many people she had never met. To know that she does have purpose just by being her. Because in her last text, she said that she didn't feel like she had any purpose or will to live. But little did she know that just her being her and living was all the purpose she needed. She was helping so many people that she didn't even know. And I wish she would have known that. And I just go back to all the videos that I was talking about in the last video that I made about the misconceptions. Like, it's from a whole different mindset now. Now that we really do know that um, she won, tried to take her life previously, before this time, early in her 20s. Um, if you didn't see the Red Table Talk, she tried to take her life. They found her in enough time to save her. And that's when her mother and her began to be closer to each other. Um, and so, saying that to say that we know that she had some issues with feeling like she doesn't want to live before. And literally, she said in her text that the only reason why she kept living was for her mother and not even for herself. And that just sunk me to the core, that a person like Chesley, gifted, intelligent, and talented as her, wasn't even living for herself. Because who would have thought Chesley, of all people, was not living for herself or living her best life? Because every time we see her, she's living her best life. And it's crazy to think about that. That's where I'm at with it right now. I haven't really accepted what happened again, but where I'm at right now and my emotions with it is just like, it's crazy to think that she just didn't have a will to live with all the things that she was doing. And so some of the videos that I was going back to was one when the Olivia Jordan video where she said that people were telling her to jump off of a high-rise building in her DMs. And we don't know if that was the voices that she heard telling her to do these things, or or actual people and trolls that she would get, because she did get trolls. I don't doubt that, but I'm sorry if I have to take pauses, guys. It's just this is my real, like, honest reaction to everything. So I'm just processing. Um, but to know that she had that in that frame of mind, and that was like in 2020. So I wonder how long she was thinking about ending her life that way. And to know, and I'm going to be just jumping around for it in every direction of the thoughts that are coming to my mind about the Red Table Talk interview and what her mom was saying. So just bear with me. But to hear that she told her mom that she was crying every single day from the pain of feeling that loneliness, it just made me so sad to know that she was going through so much pain to where she's crying every day. I think we've all felt a bit of loneliness before, especially during a rough time in our lives where you feel like nobody is there to help you, make you feel safe, make you feel like everything's okay. But to know that she was crying and she lived by herself, and it just tore my spirit up, tell you that. To imagine her crying, going back and seeing her videos, her last videos, and knowing that, I wonder if she was crying and having a rough day before she made that video. And we'll never know because of how happy she seemed to be on the outside. And she was great. She was great at having that facade of being happy on the outside, because I would have never guessed that, one, that she committed suicide previously, tried to commit suicide previously, and then to know that she probably was thinking about it a lot. And I wonder how long she had been planning that. And to know that that Allure article was actually coming from a place, a real place. Like, I know in my last video I was like, oh yeah, but Cheslie was actually trying to define her age in her own way, and that's what she said at the end of the article or whatnot. And I feel like she probably did feel that way for a while, and then her depression sank in again. And I just wonder, because she said she went to therapy. So I wonder what her therapist, and it's not her therapist's fault, but I wonder what her therapist worked on with her, because I feel like she probably did. Um, because I'm a therapist in training, I know that we are mandated to give clients a safety plan that they can go to avoid committing suicide. And we're mandated to report if they're um, thinking of harming themselves. So I wonder if Chesley even opened up enough to talk about her suicidal tendencies and thoughts. Um, because if I was her therapist, man, my goal would be to get to the root of why she felt so lonely. Because this girl, she had so many friends that she could turn to, that she could call. Her family, her mother was right by her side. She would drop everything to go and see her, as she did when she sent that text. And I'm sorry, but to go back to the text is like, to know that she started the text out saying, by the time you read this, I won't be alive anymore. It's just, man, I'm telling you guys, like, that just made me so sad. And right now, it just makes me get emotional, because, like, she had no idea of the things that she could have experienced in her life, the impact that she would have continued to make in her life. And to just go back to her first suicide attempt, like, as her therapist, I would have definitely, if she was still experiencing those suicidal thoughts, like, I would have told her, like, imagine if you would have completed that suicide that first time. You wouldn't have gotten to see yourself achieve your dreams, your greatest dreams of becoming Miss USA, becoming an, an Emmy Award nominated person, and so many other things that she accomplished, being a lawyer, helping people um, that were wrongfully convicted of crimes get their lives back. So many things that she was able to do in that amount of time after her suicide attempt. And I would have told her, like, those are the things that happen that you won't see if you don't continue living. And I don't know. It just, I wonder that's the only question that I have left regarding the situation is where did this loneliness and that feeling come from? We have a clue of her saying that she felt a sense of emptiness because in that Allure article, she said she felt a sense of emptiness every time she accomplishes something. She still feels a sense of emptiness that doesn't go away, and persistent sadness, even though she's at the top of her game. She still feels sad. So I would have directed her attention because it seemed like she had her attention on the extrinsic like goals that she had, and that she was looking for those things, external rewards to um she's looking for those external rewards to fulfill her. Excuse me. And that's just not something that's going to happen. So that's why we go towards the internal rewards that really feeds our soul, that really are intrinsic in value, you know? And I would have focused on, okay, what are some things that make you feel whole again, that feeds your soul, that makes your soul happy, that makes you get out of bed. Just starting to have that conversation and make sure she knows that these external rewards are not going to feed you internally in your spirit. External validation is not going to feed you. And that's just something that I would have gone towards if I was her therapist. Um, but this situation just really gets to my core because I'm going to be working with people that have experienced traumatic things, that have suicidal tendencies, suicidality. Um, and it's a wake up call for me to really investigate, like, okay, I have to really get myself together because this is going to be important. Some of the things that I'm going to have to do as a therapist could change somebody's life. Sorry that I keep stopping and starting. I do not live alone, and so I get disrupted a lot. So just bear with me on that. And that's why you probably see my mic readjusted or something like that. Because yeah, I keep getting interrupted at home. So what I was saying was basically as a therapist, it really as therapist in training, it really was a wake up call, this whole situation on how quickly something can change for somebody's life and how they view their life. Um, and it's my job to push them into knowing that their life is valuable and trying to help them process their pain in ways that don't involve ending their lives. So, yeah. Um, so after I watched the video, I just had so many thoughts. Like, I went to replaying some of her TikToks, her last TikToks, the week before she passed. And um, just like replaying them back and wondering, like, could this have triggered her to end her life? Like, she could have had thoughts in the back of her mind, but was processing them and understanding that as long as her mom is living and everything, that she would continue to live herself and see what God has in store for her. And some of the TikToks, like her wanting to not continue to be a lawyer, right? And the amount of people in her comments coming at her and saying like her experiencing microaggressions wasn't valid for her to stop practicing law. And that she was expressing that her experience was um that it was a lot of work and a lot of daunting tasks that she had to carry out, a lot of hours, a lot of billing hours that she would have had to do, and she wouldn't have been happy if she continued to practice law and did not do work as a correspondent, right? And so people in her comments was really trying her and saying, "Oh, well, you still could have impacted so many people's lives if you would have continued um, to be a lawyer." Uh, and she responded to those comments in a Cheslie way, like it didn't bother her apparently, um, but it did. I think those people coming at her about not being a lawyer anymore started to weigh on her and started to make her question again, what is her value? Does she matter? And what she's doing and what makes her happy? Is that um is that worth it? Is it all worth it anymore? If people don't even see my value with something that I love to do, which she said multiple times that she loves to be a extra correspondent because that's something that she was like naturally gifted at and naturally wanted to do. Multiple times she said that in podcasts that I've been listening to that she did. So it just made me feel sad because I wish that that never happened. I wish that that person never would have talked crazy to her about dismissing her feelings, dismissing how she must have felt being a lawyer and wasn't fulfilled in that job. And she probably already felt pressure to go back to law. She probably felt pressure about not being a lawyer anymore because she herself said in a podcast that she went to school and had so much stress on her life to complete law school. And she wouldn't just give that up. She said this years prior to giving up law. And she said she would never like just give it up because what would be the purpose of her going through so much stress only for her to give it up? And so that was like a red flag to me, knowing what I know now, because she did at one point attach her value to being a lawyer. And then she's not a lawyer anymore. All that work that she did is not a thing that she does anymore. Like she's not a lawyer. Are people going to stop caring about me and thinking that what I say doesn't matter anymore? Those things could have been questions that she asked. And she already had a very faint value of her own life because she wasn't even living because she wanted to live. She wanted to live because she didn't want to hurt her mom. And that just sitting in that is just a lot to process. But that was one of the things. And then her very last TikTok was of her being excited about the M&Ms. And I'm sure you've probably seen this TikTok. If not, go to her TikTok page. But she was like saying that she got some M&Ms with her name on it and with her picture on it. And somebody in the comments was basically like, anybody could have done that, right? Like basically downplaying the fact that she got the M&Ms sent to her by the factory because of where she works. And she was literally saying like, these are some of the perks of me being a correspondent at Extra and doing interviews at places. And a person in the comments just had to take away from that moment for her. And it's just like knowing that her last TikTok was like maybe 4 days before she decided to take her life, and knowing now that she says she'd been crying for like every day, it just starts to add up in your mind. Like, what are some things that could have triggered that? And she did not have a great week on TikTok as far as comments coming at her full force. So it's just sad. I wish she could have had people that are more supportive in her comments before. I don't know if that would have helped. I don't know if she had already made it up in her mind, no matter what anybody said, she was going to do it. But it just didn't seem like it, you know? It didn't seem like she was going to just take her life. Apparently, to people around her, like her mother, she didn't even think that she would be still thinking about killing herself since the first time. So I just wonder what triggered that after watching that. And I just watch all her videos in a different way now. Because, like, literally before those people came at her, she was doing great. Like, I wish she just would have held on one more day, or would have waited for her mother, waited for her mother to get out of um, her gym class that she goes to talk to her about it and to confide in her about some of the things that she could have seen that was her purpose for living. Because all it takes is somebody to change your perspective a little bit on what you're thinking about your life, you know? Like there are days that I feel down, and there are days when I have anxiety and about certain situations that I probably overthought, and somebody notices that and tells me, and that calms me down. It's like, okay, whew, I kind of overthought that. And you're right. I do have some things to look forward to. Like when she said that she was so lonely and empty and crying every day about this loneliness, I was just like, man, but you didn't know what God had planned next for you, the things he was lining up for you next. You have no idea. And that's what keeps me going. And I hope whoever's watching this, if you believe in God, believe in yourself, that you have so much more to experience that you have no idea is going to happen for you. People's lives change in a year's time, in 3 years' time. Look at Cheslie's life. As she would have taken her life that first time, she would have never known that she went on to be Miss USA. So whoever's watching this right now, like, you don't know what is next, and that should get you out of bed. What's next that could happen that's positive for you? You might have had like 2 months of negativity, but what if this is the month that all the positivity is going to overflow for you? You don't know. So I wish she would have just held on to the thought that she had so much, and she was young. She wasn't like in her 90s where there's nothing, and not saying 90-year-olds can't still live their best life, but they know for themselves that they're at the end of their lives. She had so much, like her stepfather said, like at least 40 to 50 years of more life that she could have experienced. And I really thought when she said about the loneliness, the like every day she felt that, I was just like, maybe if she would have connected with somebody, because I know she was like me and we deflect from situations and we say, how are you doing? What's going on with you? Have so many questions for other people, but to deflect away from our own stuff because we don't want to answer questions. And she was that type of person. But I imagine if she would have just related to some people and connected with other people, and she would have figured out that a lot of people, a lot of us feel lonely. A lot of us feel empty, even though we're achieving at a high level, even though we're getting great grades or getting so many degrees in college, but we still feel empty because it's not fulfilling us in our spirit. A lot of us go through that. And I wish she could have made it out of it to tell her story and how she made it out of that situation, how she made it out of that season of loneliness. That's what really just makes me sad and pains me to think about. Like, she had so much to look forward to. And I really feel like, I'm just going to say it, I feel like Mike Johnson was going to be her person, because I feel like deep down, he probably had those moments as well. He's had a rough time trying to find love, trying to find his person. And, he always has that smile on his face. He always wants to help people. He's such a great guy. Um, but I know when he goes home by himself, he might feel the same way that Cheslie felt. And they could have been a power couple. Like, and they could have found happiness within each other if, Cheslie just opened her heart for that. But I think she just had it set in her mind that she didn't want to be here. And that was set in her mind to the point where she just couldn't see getting involved in love again. Being cheated on um, certainly didn't help her desire to experience love again and trust somebody on that type of level. So um, it sucks how a string of events in life in a couple of years can just change the course of someone's life, somebody else's life. Because believe it or not, every time somebody takes their life, it has a domino effect, because that's not what life was supposed to be. We're supposed to have a purpose. And once we fulfill that purpose, that's when that's our time on this earth. And so it's like she didn't get to experience that, the course of life, the full course of life. And don't get me wrong, she's already fulfilled her purpose. And that's the one thing that can put a smile on my face, is that she held out long enough to make an impact on this world and inspire not only me, but somebody else, so many people that followed her journey, that needed some inspiration, that needed somebody that was like her. When, there's not a lot of public figures um, that was like her, really. So that was one thing. I just really felt that her and Mike would have been a match made in heaven. And I feel like she was almost about to take that step, because she took herself, well, she went on that trip with him last year in the summer in July. And I feel like she was going to take that step and see how it goes. And I don't know, I guess just it didn't happen for whatever reason. And I felt like Mike knew that, he needed to be around her. He needed to at least shoot his shot because he knew that they are so much alike and they could have helped each other. And I felt like that was her person. And she just couldn't receive that because she still had her own baggage on her. And the weight of that was just too strong to let anything else in. And that sense of loneliness, I was thinking about this last night. Like, when you refuse to connect with others and be vulnerable and just connect with others on a deep level, you're going to have a sense of loneliness because you don't have any connection with anybody. Nobody knows anything about you because you're not letting yourself be seen. When she continues to deflect away on some things that she could have connected with somebody because she doesn't want to seem like a burden, it just continued to probably make her feel like she's going through this life alone and that nobody understands her pain. Because when you release that pain on, not release it on somebody, but like when you release that pain and you are able to connect it with somebody that can relate, it's freeing. And I wish she just gave herself that opportunity to experience that. It's crazy because like everything else she was willing to share. And low key she did share in that alert article. I will admit she did give some real clues on how she really felt. But nobody saw this coming. Nobody. And I'm trying to see if I had any more thoughts about it. But oh, in that one video that I talked about, um, where she went through her entire day, and I'm sure that video is still in the link description in either part one or part two. Um, she was going through her day and showing us a day in a life. And the end of the day, she went and dropped on the bed and said that she contemplated her life. And I wonder, was that a reoccurring thing every day that she did? It just, every video that I've seen now is just a totally different perspective because the signs were there. The signs were there, but we just didn't see them. And I just, as I'm closing this out, because I don't want this to be a long and drawn out video, the Red Table Talk definitely was an eye opener for me. I'm sure for a lot of people. And I just feel like she just didn't understand her value anymore because she had her value in the wrong places. She didn't understand her value. So that's tough to realize. A person like her doesn't realize how talented, how gifted she is, and that alone is your purpose because you're sharing those gifts. You're sharing your brilliance with the world, and that's enough in itself. And just every day is finding out what's your purpose and what you need to do to fulfill it. Every day is figuring that out. And I wish you knew that. And I hope the Red Table Talk was helpful for people that are grieving once again. And if you haven't watched it, please watch it because even if you're not dealing with grief, understanding that suicide is real and that we need to start being safe places for people and really checking in on the people that we love and understanding the value of life is important. And I want to say that your life is important, whoever is watching this. Even though life can be so bad, you can have bad days, but understand at the end of it, Maya Angelou said that every storm comes to an end at some point. So just know that at the end of that storm is happiness if you allow it. And it can be happiness. That's the thing. You're losing out on such happiness, so much happiness that you had no idea that you were capable of experiencing when you decide to take your own life. You don't know what's in store for you. And I hope that's what keeps you going every day. And if you're young, you know, live to experience your children, your grandchildren. That should be your purpose, is to create a generation of people like yourself that's going to have a better life than you did, to experience your grandchildren and seeing that they're having an amazing life because of the things that you learned in your journey and you passed on to them. But how is that going to happen if you're not here? And I wish that Cheslie was here to see that you don't know what was next for yourself. So I'm sorry, guys, this is a long video, but I just wanted to put that to bed. To the people that commented on the last videos, thank you again. I will be getting back to you. If not, I feel like pretty much the Red Table Talk answered all those questions that we were talking about, and it pretty much ended the debate of everything. I feel like, yeah, I'll just answer your questions in the comments. If you have anything, and share your experience of your reaction after watching the Red Table Talk, leave it down in the comments, and I will definitely get back to you. And know that you're not alone in feeling this heaviness about this whole situation. Um, we can talk to each other about it in the comments. Other than that, I hope you got something out of this video. I know I did, because I'm able to release all of this, and I feel like I still haven't released it all. But I'm glad I took time out to talk to you guys about it. And I'm just very sad that this is how Cheslie's life came to an end. And I had to share that with you guys because connection is beautiful. And I know that somebody out there can relate to this, to how I'm feeling. And my prayers continue to go out to Cheslie's mom and her family, her entire family, that are still grieving this complicated situation, complicated loss. You guys are so strong, and all we can do is pray that your strength is continuously poured into you, that God can continuously pour into you the strength and the peace and understanding this situation every single day, until you're out of that sense of grief and you can remember Cheslie just by her presence in your life. But yeah, I think that's all I got, guys. And like I said, definitely drop what your thoughts are in the comments, okay? Again, RIP, rest in peace to the beautiful soul that is Cheslie Kryst. And we just hope and pray that you got the rest and the peace that you deserve. See you guys.